Hey everyone, welcome to another week of the Unnamed Cybersecurity Podcast. This is a special Halloween edition, guys. I figured we would tell some stories about some of the horrors that we've seen, and there's no shortage of scary stuff happening in those things. Anyway, I'm Bob. We got Matt, we got Chris, and we got Carl. Full house this week.
Hey.
That's hands.
Hey guys. So Matt, Matt, it looks like you're raising your hand to tell a story.
I was just doing jazz hands. So are we just telling scary stories of like what we've seen happen? Omitting certain details or what could happen?
Well, obviously, I was kind of thinking that what we do every day turns into a scary story for a lot of people, and obviously we don't need to do name dropping, but scenarios about things that have happened and what kind of disasters we've seen.
Okay, I can tell one of my favorite stories, omitting names of the not so innocent firm names, etc. We always talk about how sometimes it's as easy as clicking on the wrong email link and giving the wrong information. And how if your network is set up right and your protection is set up right, maybe that one account gets breached, but hopefully it stops there.
Mm-hmm.
But we also talked about like general IT hygiene and general security hygiene, and how when things aren't configured well, really bad things can happen. You get these like cascading effects. So in this scenario, a user clicked on an email. That was it. All they did was click on it. They didn't give it a username or password. They just clicked on it. But that email linked to a .NET page that ran some scripts through some known vulnerabilities that were not patched. And the account that user was logged into, they were also a local admin on all the other machines. So basically what happened was this thing moved to all 67 machines in that network. And what happened next? Oh, absolutely nothing. Because what the hackers did was just drop a little spyware on there, figure out how to escalate to server access at the other 7 sites. And the rest was history 6 months later. So I know I'm talking a lot, but the point is this all started with one user clicking on one email, a poorly configured network. So the bad actors were able to spread from there, and then sat in that network for 6 months before figuring out how could they hit them hard. And how they hit them was a $1.5 million Bitcoin ransom, which they paid. And the FBI actually helped them figure out how to pay. So that's kind of
the FBI helped them figure it out.
But it comes out to a small one. Small click.
So basically they were so owned that they had no recovery options.
They had no recovery. They did have backup, which was also encrypted. So without the encryption keys, that replicate backup was completely useless.
Well, they were there for 6 months. It's surprising.
Yeah,
not surprising.
Yeah.
After they paid the $1.5 million in Bitcoin, were they able to get the data back?
They actually were. They were given encryption keys,
and they were.
The bad news is, it wasn't the same key on every device, every drive, every volume. So there was a lot of people involved with trial and error of just applying the keys, because automating it was darn near impossible, because sometimes a file was encrypted with more than one. So they got most of their data back. Not all. And they did not go out of business. I know that's a common fear, common tale, but they were at $1.5 million and months of downtime. And I'm sure it hurt for a long time. Needless to say, they had to notify all clients as well. So
did they truly recover?
I absolutely doubt it. I don't believe
the business itself. Are they still in business?
They are still in business, though, but most places don't have pockets deep enough to pull that off.
Yeah.
Well, what was the true recovery time? You said months, right? Because of how
they were up and operating. Let's just say roughly operating on new devices and a new file share and email. I think it took about 3 weeks. So it was 3 weeks with absolutely no communication, no email or anything like that. I'm trying not to say too many things to say what line of business it was and things like that. There were some things that were hosted that were not breached that was helpful. But to really be operating again and have all the phone systems and shared faxes and everything else working again, it was at least 3 months. But true recovery was at least a year. I mean, there was changes happening there for over a year.
Not to mention, not to mention client issues of
there was a lot of loss of trust.
not truly trusting them, and
lot of loss of trust for sure. And I've got a whole bunch of other stories, but that one is they almost all start the same, like an honest mistake and something being misconfigured. And it spreading from there. This was just the one that I've seen go like wildfire. That is the most Halloween impactful.
That's a large ransom too. Even in today's standards, it's a large ransom.
Mm-hmm.
Like we see the big ones, like 70 million or 50 million or whatever, but that's a massive company.
Those are huge public companies, whereas this was not exactly a mom and pop, but not huge, not a massive place now. Profitable place, obviously. Where it was. Yeah. But even just today, I ended up with a client who has an employee that got a those fake PDFs that are going around, like, hey, you need to sign this. But this one was a QR code. And
there you go.
I just want to see what the code said. So I pointed my phone at it and I clicked. And we're just saying, why would you do that? You weren't expecting it. You didn't know what it was. You didn't know where it was going to go. And they said, yeah, it was just an advertisement for shoes. So I wasn't sure why I got it. But that could have been anything, is what it comes down to. That's a company phone, and you go through. Who knows?
I did a blog post a couple months ago, Matt. That was how Diet Coke can impact your cybersecurity. And it was just that. It was sending out a fake coupon to get people to click on stuff.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Matt, were they nice shoes?
Probably not. I don't know. I like to think so. I'm partial to Clark, so unless it was Clark's or Johnson Murphy, I don't know.
In the last week, I've got something like 30 PayPal requests sent to one of my PayPal emails.
Well, that's weird.
Like just with random dollar amounts. They're just trying to get you to click and enable the transfer, but it's wild. Yeah, I'm like 30. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every day.
I only got one. I feel left out.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't get anything. I keep on sending him to Chris, so he's not paying him.
Yeah.
Gotta send him one now.
So Chris, what kind of horror stories you got for us?
All right, let's play choose your own adventure. Do you want hopeful or do you want not hopeful?
What a scary story.
This isn't necessarily scary. I don't know the entire story here, but I'll say this. I engaged with a prospect. Let's just say they do. I probably shouldn't give away what they do. Okay, they're involved in helping other businesses do something.
Okay.
And I started digging into, just like as a prospect meeting, I started talking to them, and I was getting a little. You ever get that feeling sometimes where you're just like, this really seems like we're going down a path that we shouldn't be going down. Like they're doing stuff that's shady. They're doing stuff that maybe they shouldn't be doing. You ever get that feeling when you're talking to a prospect?
Yep.
Okay, cool. So I was getting that feeling. As I dug deeper during the discovery call, I got down to they were doing backups to one of the owner's house. They were using somebody that had a job as their IT, but was never available during the day, was only available to do things at night. And when you start asking them about backup and disaster recovery, incident response, all this stuff, they had no answers for it. So I'm like, cool, you know what we should do? We should do a cybersecurity risk assessment. Let's just go ahead and do that. Let's get scheduled. At least we'll give you some insights and some, after we discover all this stuff, we'll at least give you something actionable that you can take. And they told me no. So I'm like, all right. Tried to reach out to them a few times. They said that, they were just going to go with the cheapest option. All right, fair. It was 9 months later from the time I talked to them that they ended up on a dark web ransomware site. They got their backup. They got all their files. And I never saw one mention on their website or one public mention that they had been completely pwned.
Wow.
So I have now a list of a company. I have a company on my list that I would never do business with because of that aspect of it. I did reach out to them after I saw them on the dark web, and I asked them questions, and they just kind of blew me off. So
you can only help those that want to be helped.
truth.
And so as soon as you said something about backing up to the owner's house, we had a client, a prospect, reach out to us. I don't know, it's probably about 12 years ago now, where their IT guy decided he was going to save them some money. And he put a NAS at his house, and he started backing up all their SaaS data, because these guys were actually running an early SaaS. They were running the early SaaS platform. He backed up all their client data that we're putting in the system into this NAS sitting at his house. That was all well and good until it came time to do an update to that NAS. Well, that NAS got updated and got set back to factory defaults, which allowed anonymous access to the box. So Google actually found it and indexed it for him. This company started getting phone calls. It was like, why is our data sitting on Google?
So when it reset, it probably used universal plug and play and then got published to the internet.
It enabled anonymous FTP.
And it was forwarded through for the firewall to the internet.
Yep. This guy didn't understand firewalls or anything. In fact, some of the stuff in his office when I talked to them was actually sitting on the internet. Like copiers were sitting on the internet just so we could get to them. So yeah, this was published to the internet, and Google indexed it. This company had to report in all 50 states, and it still shows up to this day. When new prospects do their due diligence on this client, it comes up and says, "Oh, what was this data breach back in, I don't know, 2012, 2015?"
Bob, do you know how hard it is to get our information up to the web so that people pay attention? Yet this company was able to get everything SEO to all 50 states. I mean, that's amazing.
You have inspired me a new marketing idea. I'm going to set up a honeypot, and it's going to look like I leaked a bunch of company data, but I didn't. Somebody's going to tell me, and then I have to report it, and I'm like, I don't report anything. See if I make the news.
I'll give you a story, but this one will be a little hopeful.
Okay.
We all do our quarterlies with our clients, and this is early on in my career. I have a client that runs an industry that's in compliance, and I said, we need to do we need to do cloud-to-cloud backups. And he said, no, we don't. And for those that don't know, that meant we wanted to make sure that Microsoft 360 was backed up to another service. And said, I don't need. And so I forced him. I said, I'm not going to be able to work with you if you don't do it. So he grudgingly did it. Years went by. And then earlier this year, he said, hey, I just went to one of my employees to look for an email because we're now getting a subpoena for something that happened, back 6 years ago about an email we sent out. So we can't find that. And they were panicking. They were having their little horror story. But fortunately, I had backed up all of their stuff because she had deleted. She was only keeping 2 years of email data on her computer because of space, but I had all of it backed up. So he found out that the client, the person who sent the email was forging it. They were trying to trick him. But we gave him a treat by recovering the right email.
Ooh.
There you go.
Interesting.
So you know how you were just talking, Bob, about that FTP, anonymous FTP? We took over a client once, and they had their VMware published on the internet.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So
for those that don't know, VMware is a platform for managing multiple computers, all multiple servers out of one. And
you mean like the hypervisor? Sorry, I'm shocked. I'm sorry, Bob. I made it up.
It gets worse. So luckily they never did anything. Oh, yeah, they had that too. I'll list services in a second. So basically, like Bob said, VMware, it's one of the most popular ways of doing virtual machines. So you can use one piece of hardware. You can run multiple servers. In a business situation, a lot of times you might run 8, 10 VMs, maybe less. What you don't want to do is publish that interface to the internet, because then it's an attack point, right? And VMware's had a rough go with security the last 2 years. And they actually have an open vulnerability right now that they patched in September that's not fixed. So if you had this open to the internet, which is a big no-no, it could be a big deal. But this customer, when he took them over, had VMware publish the internet. They had iDRAC for their Dell servers publish the internet. That means people could get to it's almost like a DVR situation with like your server. You could see the console from wherever through a web browser. Think about how scary that is, because they can control the hardware. And they had RDP open as well, so remote desktop directly to the internet, directly into a server that had access to the files.
We got to manage those machines. We got to log in.
On day one, that's what we had to do. So we had to have a conversation with management really quickly. We're like, can we turn this off like right now? There's no reason for this to exist. And we got clearance. We got clearance to turn it off, but it was wild. I'm like, you guys are so lucky, because this was that time when RDP was really getting hit with ransomware. It was being exposed. Not to mention leaving like their entire infrastructure enabled via the internet. Like, it was wild. I'll never understand why people do that. It seems like, I guess it's like Windows. It's like 2000 mentality. I guess like early 2000 mentality.
Yeah. Poor things. I mean, no one knew the doors were there to walk through back then. Now everyone's knocking on every door.
Think about this, Chris. If they had access to the VMware console, and they could have just spun up their own virtual machines out there to do whatever they want for months.
I'd be mining Bitcoin. No.
Well, there's been
and no one would even see it.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of ransomware that if they can get access to vCenter, they can just deploy ransomware, so they can actually shut your VMs down and encrypt them all.
Yep.
So that's a problem. And they didn't have very good backup. And by they didn't have very good backup, I mean they didn't have backup.
It's usually not good backup. There's no backup.
Yeah. So that was day one. That was 6 years ago. So obviously different spot now, but they're lucky. They're extremely lucky that nothing bad happened.
All right.
Anyway, guys, I think we probably scared people enough for this one. It's Halloween. Let's let everyone.
We're gonna go into the Thanksgiving Christmas season coming up after this. It starts. Christmas has already started 2 weeks ago.
I think we should do a Thanksgiving episode where people really give thanks that they don't watch the episode. Like we make it. We go really dark on this.
Hey Chris, I've been polling our fans and they're amazing. We have them all over the country. They've been checking in. I mean, when Matt showed up in San Antonio, Texas, he was being swarmed by thousands and thousands of people.
100%. It was wonderful.
It reminded me of Ringo from Help. You know, it was really just he's the Ringo of our group.
What a blush.
So
well, I
like to think.
I'm so glad they paid the ransom to get you back when you were kidnapped. I mean, it was wonderful.
That was fine. I was just disappointed how low it was. You know, 3 empty bottles. My God, I mean, they were Michigan returns, so at least it was 30 cents.
Oh, jeez. Now you're just dogging on Michigan? Oh, man.
Cents.
Well, no, you guys, you charge more for your empties. Yeah. I'm still trying to figure out how to ship them to you to make that double up.
Dude, that's a crime here. So we're gonna people on the internet. Yeah, it's a crime to do that here. Yeah,
that's a stupid.
That's not gonna happen.
Great, stupid. Anyway, love the state.
But yeah, just be on the lookout, guys. Between now and the rest of the year,
no problem.
Kind of a scary time.
And that's my cue right there.
Hey, Matt, your sign
Ringo has left the building. Ringo is leaving the building.
My sign that said "Do not bug Daddy" in meeting has failed. So
did you read?
I will bid you adieu.
Matt. Question for our listeners: can she read?
Of course, she can read.
She actually just said I can't read it, so that's the other two. However,
now we got two.
Now we got two.
Once the first one goes through.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Honestly, you just got our views way up, so that's awesome.
We just got our views increased by 500%.